All right, what's up, reviewers? This is Smooth the Reviewer, and today I'm going to be talking about Oshinoko finally ending with the next chapter on November 14th, 2024. Okay, guys, so I know it's been like a while since well, honestly, it's been a few weeks, like a month or so, and I've never actually talked about or like did like a manga sort of review on Oshinoko at least. Like I've never taken the time to like look at them to like show you guys what's going on in the manga and just give my thoughts on about it. But honestly, guys, if you've been on like especially like on Twitter/X for the past just past month or two, well, maybe just the past month, you would see that like the Oshinoko community on Twitter has just been in a state of chaos. Like ever since I would say this chapter right here. Ever since I'd say this chapter right here, chapter 160 and like maybe even chapter 159 here, where well no, not this. Chapter 158, even this chapter here where we see that at the end of this chapter, Ruby actually gets stabbed. Okay, I think this may have been where it all started. I'm not sure. Maybe not this one, but definitely chapter 160, I would say, because we find out that this actually isn't Ruby here that got stabbed. This is Akane in disguise. And Akane and the reason she's able to survive is because she's wearing a knife-proof vest. And honestly, and I do want to say that I actually predicted this too. Like the last chapter 158, we saw that she got stabbed, and a lot of people were just like, "Hey, what the heck, Ruby? Why would you just open the door like that? Since like your mother died and all that." I assumed that she was probably wearing like a knife-proof vest because I was like, "There's no way Ruby's about to die the same way." And I even like commented on some people's things about it on Twitter. You can go find it. You can go like y'all can go like to follow me on Twitter. Smooth review here. But yeah, so it turns out she was wearing a knife-proof vest, and yeah, they caught Nino, and she survived. So then now we skip to the end of this chapter where Aqua is confronting Hikaru, and he's basically like, "Why did you try to kill Ruby?" And then we get this crazy panel here where he's like, "What are you talking about?" So then we get to chapter 160, and this is where like I think the real chaos like truly started, because in this chapter it's basically Aqua basically calling out Kamiki, and he's trying to be like, "Hey, listen, it wasn't really me, it was all of the people that were around me. It was like Nino, and then what's the dude's name? Ruigi, the guy who actually stabbed I. It was all them. They wanted. I just simply told them about it, and I didn't think they'd actually follow through with killing her. That's basically what Hikaru tries to do here. He tries to make himself seem innocent, but Aqua is just like, bro, I'm not falling for your bullshit, man. I'm not falling for it. Like you tried to kill Ruby, didn't you? So, oh, right, and then this panel right here of him just looking like a straight up villain. I will say this panel is actually good. This is literally like a straight up villain right here. But anyways, what really set everything in motion was like the end of this chapter, I think. Because at the end of this chapter, Aqua basically goes on talking about how Ruby is like just basically different and better than like everyone else because she's actually trying to bring joy into the world, and that's what she truly wants to do. And so Aqua is basically saying that his motivation at this point is basically only to protect her. He's basically saying that he's not doing his revenge thing because he wants to avenge I. He's doing it now only because he wants Ruby to be safe. And there is some controversy over that statement too, and hopefully I'll talk about that later in this video too. I'm trying to like give all of my thoughts in this singular video, guys, so just bear with me as, I kind of try to remember like everything that's happened, getting all of my feelings together and everything. So please just bear with me with this video. So at the end of this video, this pose is cool too. Basically at the end of this channel, oh my god, I'm messing up so much. At the end of this chapter, Aqua is holding the knife to Hikaru, and everyone's just like, okay, wait, is he actually going to like go through with this? Like, what? How is he gonna make it so that? How's he gonna prove that he didn't actually do it or anything? So then we get to chapter 161, where we see the Crow Girl a little bit. Honestly, I'm just gonna ignore the Crow Girl. But basically, Hikaru is all like, hey, if I die, then if you kill me, then there's no future for Ruby because she'll be known as a murderer in the future. And he's basically still trying to like convince Aqua that doing what he's doing is a bad idea. And this is another part where that kind of like pissed a lot of people off, because basically Aqua goes into like this monologue here where he's like, I have my own dreams. He still wants to be a surgeon someday. He wants to respond to Kana's feelings for whatever reason. He wants to go to the beach with Himekawa, and he wants to call Miyako mom again. And then he wants to repay Akane for her kindness. And like, oh my gosh, the name Akane was just on my Twitter feed for weeks. Like, oh my gosh. Like, literally, you know how it has the trending over here? My trending was filled with nothing but mainly Akane, but also like Kana and Oshinoko, like the tags also. My feed was literally had those things stuck on there for like 3 weeks at least. Like, oh my gosh. And basically at the end of this chapter, Aqua basically stabs himself, as you can see here, and then he just literally just pushes Hikaru off the cliff. And so this was like this is the first biggest thing that like kind of pissed people off, was that the fact that Aqua stabbed himself and then pushed Hikaru off, and basically what that's supposed to mean is it's supposed to look like Hikaru stabbed him and basically Aqua fought back. But anyone taking more than a but if you just take a second look at this plan, you can see how it like just falls apart, because the police can tell whether or not people stab themselves or not. And plus, Aqua is not wearing gloves here. Like, if you can see, he's not wearing gloves. So the police are only going to have his DNA on the knife. So it's like, how did Hikaru try to stab you if only your DNA is on the knife? So that's why this whole plan just didn't make any sense to a lot of people. It made absolutely no sense because you can't just stab yourself and then push the other guy off the cliff and then it's supposed to be his fault. Like, what? And also the fact that Hikaru kind of just let Aqua do this is also another thing that seemed really weird. It just made no sense. But let's go back up in this chapter, because let's go back to these moments up here where Aqua is like talking about the things that he really does want to do. So anyone who's been around the Oshino community, you know that there's this big rivalry between Kana and Akane. Mainly those two. Ruby was in there for a moment, but Ruby has since like basically not been in the running for like a few chapters now. So basically, and this is what a lot of feud was over on Twitter too, is that a lot of Kana fans basically took this line as as Aqua wanting to respond to her feelings, as him basically saying that, yeah, hey, I really do like Kana, like romantically, and I really wish I could be with her, you know? And then people were like, he only wants to repay Akane with his kindness and build an equal relationship, and people assumed that meant just like a friendly relationship with him. So how do I give my thoughts on this? So what I want to say is like, yeah, at first glance, that these lines do seem like Aqua is tilting towards Kana, but I do think that a lot of Kana fans kind of blew that out of proportion. Like, okay, he wants to respond to her feelings, but like you can literally see here that he's just still making this kind of like still face. Like Kana is happy because yeah, she likes him, but Aqua is here just not even. This is not really any kind of expression that he's giving. He's just there. Okay, so I think people Kana fans kind of went overboard saying that like, hey, this is proof that he actually likes her and whatnot. Okay, so that's how I felt about that. And then let's move on to the next chapter. So in this chapter we see Aqua and his father are actually like drowning, and yeah, this is basically his plan is working so far. So basically then we see this spirit of Goro who's like dragging Hikaru down, and this is pretty good like drawings here. I like this, but it still feels weird that this is basically how Hikaru goes, okay? So we get this sort of inner monologue from him. I was only alive when I was with but I wanted to feel your presence. And this is basically why he's saying that he killed so many people, because he just wanted to feel closer to See, too bad I could have felt you more if I had killed Ruby. So this confirms that he actually did, I guess, want to kill Ruby, which is insane. And then this panel right here, which was basically foreshadowed in the anime, if you saw like, I think it was like the ending or whatever, not very great foreshadowing. But then we just have the Kroger up here just like monologuing, and then this also is just what pisses me and so many other people off too, because again, Aqua says the reason I lived was definitely not for revenge. Yes, it was. It literally was. Okay. Yes, you literally started as a kid, and you literally said that you definitely were going to kill him and stuff, and you definitely were definitely out for revenge. Like, I think this is just the case of like the author, I'm blanking on his name, like Aka, I think, yeah, Aka, where he's just kind of just that's the main problem with these last couple of chapters. He's really just like backpedaling on a lot of stuff that he set up. The fact that Aqua is just basically saying that he was only out for revenge to protect Ruby, that's just not, a lot of people just don't feel like that's true, because he did like so many other things. Like, he literally broke up with like Akane, and then just immediately was like, I need to go after Hikaru right now. Like, I need to go after him. He literally made a whole movie just to like spite his father and everything. So this is kind of like a weird sort of motivational switch here that just doesn't really make any sense. And again, let me talk about Hikaru for a moment. So I remember having this conversation with a friend, and then just talking about how basically Hikaru is it is so weird what Aka has done with Hikaru in this manga, because he goes from being this guy that like is clearly set up to be evil because he got I killed, and basically we want to get revenge to get him. And then with the whole movie arc, it's like he's actually it kind of tries to give a little bit more sympathy for him, just like basic, not sympathy maybe, but maybe a bit more nuance, where it's like, okay, he was like basically assaulted as a child, and so like that kind of effed him up. And so, so it's a little bit more nuance as to why he was probably didn't know what to do when I was pregnant, and was just like, maybe it would be better for me if she was just gone and whatnot. So so with the movie arc, it tries to give a little bit of nuance to him, but then with these recent chapters, he just goes back to straight up being a bad guy. So it's like, because like, remember with the last chapter, it was like he wants to definitely kill Ruby, And it's like, no, not even with that. It literally in this chapter. Let me go back up. Let me go back up. Too bad, I could have felt you more if I had killed Ruby. So he really is the straight up monster we think. Because at the end, because think about it, at the end of the movie arc, what happened? Aqua finally confronted Hikaru and he showed them the video that I left for them, and he basically felt like he had remorse. Like he held his hand up to the screen and like looked remorseful that he killed I, and like he didn't understand her and all that. But it's like, what was the point of that if in reality he actually was just manipulating everyone, and he's actually just a straight up murderer. So it's like, why? So it's like, so it felt like Akka couldn't decide what he wanted Hikaru to be. Whether he wanted Hikaru to be like just a straight up evil person, or if he was somewhat, or if he was still a bad guy, but he was still just a little bit, but there's still more nuance to him. So you can see how the chapters are just progressively getting worse here. Like these final chapters are just progressively undoing like so many things here. So let's go on to chapter 163. All right, let me think. What happened in this chapter? Oh yeah, that's right. This chapter was useless. This is the chapter where it basically gives us a scenario of here, as you can see, Sarina living in Sarina's Ruby in her previous life, and her living, and then Goru's being happy, and that how she joins I on the stage. This chapter was definitely useless because we got no new information about it. And then Aqua has this talk with the Crow Girl, and I'm gonna just straight up be honest. This was weird because this is just the Crow Girl is basically saying here how. Let me read it. You were a young man who was angry at the injustice and absurdity of the world despite suffering setbacks. You were interested in romance like everyone else. This is just kind of out of left field for me because Crow Girl has just not really done much in the series, even though she's like basically a god and she can probably do some crazy stuff. But it's like for her to just be like consoling him and all this. I'm not gonna lie to you, y'all. Let me know how y'all felt about this. But honestly, this just felt so weird coming out of her. I don't know what like really the point of this was. So right, this chapter was basically just to show that Aqua truly is like a separate person from Goro. But it's like we already knew that from previous chapters. It's already been stated that Aqua is not entirely the same as Goro. So I don't know why Akka felt like we needed this to be told to us again. And then is this okay? All right, the second to last chapter. Okay, then we see here in this chapter that Kana is worried about Aqua because he wasn't around, and so this is basically the conclusion to Aqua's death because here he's hurting. It's very painful in the water. He's drowning and he's stabbed. Okay, and then it's getting darker. But then at the very end, he sees basically a star, and we see the girls are just chilling at the concert. And then so he closes his eyes and he smiles. So I guess Aqua did die a happy death, a happy man. Okay, definitely a bittersweet conclusion to him. And this also caused like a lot of outrage. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and give my personal sort of thoughts on this too. Okay, I'm gonna talk about just Aqua dying. There's nothing wrong with the main characters dying and having a bittersweet ending, but there has to be good execution to it. Okay, so Aqua basically has always said that he's willing to basically die to get revenge on Hikaru or to protect Ruby, yada yada. Okay, as a reader, it's like you don't want the main character to die or anything, but it's like not everything is like joyful in stories. There are bad things that happen in stories, and you can't always have like a happy ever after ending. Okay, I get that, and I think most of us get that too, that we can't always have this happy ending. But if you are going to have a like negative or a bittersweet ending, you have to execute that properly. It has to be, you can't like have these story beats, like I said earlier, that just are flip flopping back and forth, and other story beats that are just, completely left in the past, okay? And what I'm specifically referencing with that, and I saw people talking on Twitter about this too, is about how, remember back when Akane said that she was going to stop Aqua's plan with the whole movie arc? She didn't do anything. She literally said that she was going to stop Aqua from doing whatever, like whatever that means, just stopping his plan, whatever the heck his plan was at that point. And then she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to stop it. She kind of just went along with the movie. And then just kind of just went along with him. I'm not going to say she went along with him dying, but it's just like, she didn't do anything to stop him. And then we also have the point where I saw this on Twitter too. Someone else brought up the fact that it was stated that, Kana was definitely going to protect Ruby no matter what, because there was the scenes in the movie arc where Ruby was having trouble acting as and then Kana basically was like supporting her, And so I think the director or whatever said that Kana will definitely protect Ruby, but then Kana did not protect Ruby. That was Akane. Nino tried to kill Ruby, and Akane is the one that saved and is the one that stepped in and saved her, didn't save her, but protected her. Kana didn't do anything either. So that's what I mean, where it's like the execution of things has to be properly done, and if you want a bittersweet ending to be good. But Akka did not do that. That's what I mean by he's going back or like disregarding so many things that was set up. Hikaru being a villain, that was flip-flop back and forth. Akane stopping Akko's plan, she didn't do anything. Kana being there and always protecting Ruby, she didn't protect Ruby at all because Kana is not smart enough to actually be able to do that. And I don't get why people on Twitter are praising Kana so much in that way, because she did. Okay, let me talk about Kana as a character for the story, okay? I don't hate Kana. I don't hate her, but I think people drastically overestimate how much she has actually done in this story, especially considering what I just said. She didn't protect Ruby in any way. She just helped. She was just there to kind of support her in playing better. That's it. Okay? Her personality, not that great, and she did have some interesting developments, okay? The whole like scandal arc was an okay arc, and then I think her finally getting the courage to go on the date with Aqua was something cool too. And then I think her fully deciding like, hey, I want to leave Bikumachi and I want to be an actor. I think her officially deciding that on her own was cool too. But it's like, outside of like these minor things, there really just is not much to Kana. So I just don't get the crazy praise over her really. And it's like what there was another point I wanted to bring up. Kana. Oh, right. The whole date thing, okay? That's another instance of Akka not really following through with anything, because Kana and Aqua went on a second sort of date when they, in these recent chapters, remember, like, Akane basically set it up to where she wanted Kana to date Aqua and hopefully keep him from doing his revenge, which was a bad plan on Akane's part, so I don't know why Akka downgraded her character like that. But despite that, it still felt like that was just a sort of a forced thing, okay? So I remember back in the whole chapter when they went to the beach, Kana basically had forfeited, but then Akane was like, oh, no, you don't have to forfeit because I don't like him anymore, which is BS, and I hate that Akka did that, because people on Twitter and everything are saying that, use the fact that like she doesn't like him, she said that to point out that Akane doesn't actually like him, even though Akane really actually does, because Akane does so much for Aqua. She literally saved his sibling, and she literally states in these recent chapters that she was willing to go to hell with him. So I don't understand why Akka did that whole scenario right there in the first place when it amounted to nothing. And that's really another big thing about the Oshinoko manga as a whole, or at least with these final arcs. It just feels like nothing has amounted to anything. It kind of it's like, just how did we get to this point, you know? And so that takes me to the final chapter. So honestly, this chapter right here, where, like, Akane's on the beach. So this is the moment when I talked about where I said that she was willing. Yeah, this image right here, this was blowing up too, where she was willing to go to hell and all that. This, and then the fact that, and then I saw people point out the fact that they found out through TV and not in person. This was another thing why where I don't understand what Aqua was doing, because how did the news of Aqua's death get out before the family knew? That's not, if anyone knows anything about police investigations, you're supposed to contact the family first and then you put it out on the news. You don't just put it out on the news and not inform the family that someone that is that close to them is dead. Okay, so yeah, I don't think this chapter was not that good either. This, considering the last chapter with the Crow girls, saying what she said, I don't think we're all that good. But then we get to the most recent chapter that came out 4 hours ago. So this chapter, continues basically saying, so Hikaru basically had a bunch of people working under him, and there were more people besides I and Goro who died. So, and that's another revelation that just we're not gonna get to know more about. How did those other people die? Who were those other victims that died, and who were those other people that worked under Hikaru? Okay, that's another thing we won't ever get to know. But besides that, I've been negative so far most of this video. I do think this chapter is definitely better than the recent ones we've been getting. The chapters since 160, 161. I think this is the best chapter we've gotten recently, because we see, Aqua's funeral, and we finally get to see most of the people's in-person reaction at his funeral. Kana here basically slaps Aqua, and I know a lot of people didn't like this moment too, which honestly, I'm just kind of I don't really have a strong opinion on this. She slapped him because it was a promise that they made. They made a promise that she would slap him, or if he ever tried to die again or said he wanted to. So she is keeping that promise, but at the same time, you can't just do that just because you made a promise. You can't just slap someone's corpse, I don't think. So, I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I don't hate it, and I don't necessarily love it. But then Miyako slaps her, which is, justified, okay? But I will say it is kind of weird that nothing kind of happens after that. She kind of just slaps him, or no, Miyako just slaps her, and then Kana just goes right back to talking to Aqua, which I thought was a little weird. But then we have her whole breakdown here where she's saying, you said that, where she's calling Aqua a liar, and how he can't die because she hasn't told him that she loved him yet. So honestly, I'm also kind of just I don't have strong opinions about Kana's reaction. I saw that people were I think a lot of people hate that she's kind of like this, that she just slaps the corpse and then she's just bawling. A lot of people hate it, but then I know for a fact a lot of people are okay with it. They like it. They like that they like this strong reaction. I don't have any strong appeal. After reading the chapter, I don't have strong opinions. I just think the artwork is good still. I think the artwork is still good. But yeah, but besides that, I think seeing everyone else's reaction to was good. We got the theater people. We have Melt, Himekawa, uh, Frill, and Minami, I think. And then we have the director saying that, like, the movie has to go out no matter what, which I like. I like the fact that the movie is still going to be put out no matter what. And then the last part of this chapter is Ruby being left in her room, and basically is how the people I care about always seem to leave me. So it is kind of crazy that we've waited this long to see Ruby. We got Ruby's reaction to Aqua's death in the final two chapters, which is odd, also. But this is where but basically this chapter also ends on a weird note too, where Akane basically says that people aren't as fragile as they appear. So she basically talks about how that Aqua probably knew that Ruby would get like this, that she would just solidate herself in the room and everything. She hasn't left the house since then. But then Akane is just like, that she's not, like, basically that Ruby will bounce back from this, and most people will, which is odd, I guess, because it's like Ruby literally said this is another person that is just taken from her again. So I don't necessarily agree with this statement that everyone is just it's just strong apparently, and everyone is just gonna be okay. Like, I think this is why for a lot of people the ending feels rushed, and it's like, I feel like it should have been more time for people to, like, grieve, or like at least another chapter or two for people to grieve. But then Akane is just like, oh nah, we're not that fragile. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. But yeah, like I said, this chapter overall I think is better than the ones we've been getting recently. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Oshinoko manga ending. Next week, November 14th, that's when it officially ends, and Oshinoko will end as a manga, It's kind of crazy because I started reading right after season 1. Right after season 1 ended a year or two ago, I immediately started reading, and I liked it. I liked the story, but it was there's definitely glaring issues with the story. Anyways, I still think Oshinoko, I still think it's worth a read. I think it's still a good series that's worth the read, but it is just like a shame that, like, this is like how this whole ending arc is, like, going, and I think this downfall can be studied. I think this downfall and this meltdown of the community as a whole can definitely be studied, man. But anyways, I just want to know what anyone who sees this video, I just want to know what y'all's thoughts are. Please let me know in the comments. Type whatever you want. Tell me how you feel about everything that's happened in the series as a whole. And I will, hopefully I'll be able to make a review of the final chapter for you guys too. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.